welcome to another exciting edition of Best MTG Decks Ever. I'm your host, Joseph, and today I've got a special deck for you. It is Hylda. We're doing a lot of tapping, we're doing a lot of freezing, we're doing a lot of staxy stuff. So let's take a look at the deck. Here is the deck. I call it Time Freeze. We are using Hylda of the Icy Crown as our commander. She is 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue, making her Azorius. Whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, you may pay 1 colorless. When you do, choose one of these. We can either create a 4/4 white and blue elemental creature token. We can either put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control, or lastly, we can do scry 2, draw a card. So if you could probably guess, we're going to have a lot of effects that do tapping. So let's take a look at creatures. In creatures, we've got stuff like Giant Killer, which we can use as removal, but it also has 1 colorless, 1 white, tap target creature. Something like Gideon's Lawkeeper, 1 white, tap target creature. We're also running some stax effects inside here. Some of them you will know as everyone's favorite, Drannith Magistrate. Fate Spinner is very unique, and I love putting it in stax decks. It reads, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player chooses draw step, main phase, or combat phase. The player skips each instance of the chosen step or phase this turn. So our opponents are usually always going to, at the bare minimum, keep their draw step. And they're probably also going to keep their main phase, which means Fate Spinner slows down combat phases. And this is good for us because that will leave their creatures untapped. We can tap them and do stuff with our commander. We are running some other stax effects which play into that, like Ghostly Prism, Propaganda, and Dissipation Field. So you guys probably are familiar with Ghostly Prison and Propaganda, where people have to pay 2 colorless in order to attack you for each creature. I also like Dissipation Field. So Dissipation Field reads, whenever a permanent deals damage to you, return it to its owner's hand. This will dissuade people from attacking us. There's another new card that just came out that fits well into this deck, and if you can get this and the commander on the board, you're going to get to do a lot of stuff. This is Charade of Numbing Depths. When Charade of Numbing Depths enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. So we're going to get a proc for our commander. Whenever you tap 1 or more untapped creatures your opponents control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So using this, we can get draws we're tapping. This taps also. It's just got a lot of synergy. We are running 5 sorceries. Some of these are going to allow us to draw cards for each tapped creature that our opponent controls. We've got some stuff for tapping things so that we can take advantage of our commander's ability. And then we've got Supreme Verdict as a board wipe, which is always good, can't be countered. We've got 13 instants, and we are running various effects from counters to things that tap people's creatures to tutors that will allow us to go get interesting stuff. So like Enlightened Tutor, we're probably going to go grab Stasis or Smothering Titties. We've got some removal. We've got some big-time removal. We've got some stuff to protect our board. Flawless Maneuver, Teferi's Protection. We are running quite a few artifacts. We're running 17 to be precise. Almost all of them are mana rocks, except Icy Crown Scepter. Icebind Pillar, which is used to tap stuff. Scepter of Dominance, also used to tap stuff. And of course, our famous and beloved Icy Manipulator from the very first set of Magic. Let's take a look at enchantments. We've got a bunch here. We've got Anointed Procession. Anointed Procession is going to help us create more of those 4/4 elemental creature tokens. Verity Circle is pretty awesome. It's going to help us draw a ton as we're tapping our opponents. And we are running a pretty awesome combo in the form of Smothering Titties and Stasis. What this will end up doing is it will allow our opponents to get no untaps, and then we will be able to continuously gain mana through Smothering Titties as they draw cards. It'll allow us to keep Stasis on the board, and we will slowly start to inch forward. So let's take a look at the primer right here so we can kind of go over some of the big plays. Like I told you before, we've got Stasis and Smothering Titties. It's like a near hard lockout for opponents, and we want to play this when we have some sort of a board state where we can capitalize on the fact that our opponents are going to be weakened. We've got Elvish Mariner along with our commander Hylda, and Elvish Mariner reads, Whenever Elvish Mariner attacks, scry 1. Whenever you scry, tap up to X target non-land permanents, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. So the interesting thing about this is that with Hylda, so you've got Elvish Mariner on the board. You tap one of your opponent's creatures. This will trigger Hylda. You can choose scry 2, then draw a card. When you scry 2, it's going to trigger Elvish Mariner. You'll get to tap 2 more creatures, which will trigger Hylda of the Icy Crown again. And as long as we've got 1 colorless mana to keep activating this, it'll just keep bouncing back and forth, scrying 2, drawing a card, tapping stuff with Elvish Mariner, da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, the interesting thing is that this combo right here, we can really take it to the next level if we can get Icy Crown Scepter and Dramatic Reversal on the board, which will allow us to get infinite colorless mana. And then when we're bouncing these effects back and forth, we can just tap everyone's creature and then just keep doing this. Now, it does have a limitation because Hylda will only proc whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls. So it does have a limitation, but it's still fun. Like if somebody has a go wide strategy, obviously you're going to get a ton of procs off of this thing. Now, one of the interesting things about this deck is we can use politics and threat assessment to be more efficient with the way that it plays. So let's say that we are playing a game, we've got our 3 opponents, and one of them has a very aggressive board state. Now, at the beginning of their turn before combat, or during their turn before combat, we can make a deal with them. We can say, I won't tap these creatures as long as you agree not to attack me. And then if they say yes, well, then you won't tap those creatures and they'll get to attack somebody else. If they disagree, then you tap all their creatures. So that is the Hylda of the Icy Crown deck. I hope you guys liked it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.